Welcome back to the Coaches Unscripted podcast. I'm your host, Trey Belcher. With me, as always, my tag team partner, Corey Smallwood. How's it going, Corey?
It's going, man. How are you doing?
Everything is always good at Coaches Unscripted HQ. And with us today is a dynamo of the training industry. He is a renowned speaker and owner of Stronger Personal Training in Worcester, Mass. He is the man. He is Frank Nash. Welcome in, Frank.
Well, guys, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure, and I'm ready to do this.
Man, you talk about your pleasure. The pleasure is all ours, and I
No,
speak for
you.
Corey.
No,
on
me.
this
No,
one.
you.
Right?
Yes, you. Yeah.
You. Here, that guy. There. It's like that old Spider-Man meme. They're all pointing.
You know, it's fun. And we were talking before we came on. I met you at the Perform Better in Orlando in 2018, and just a brief meeting, and I talk about this all the time. To fast forward just 7 years and to be sitting here talking shop with you and Corey, and to have you on the podcast is really something special to me. So thanks so much for doing it. And you have such a great thing going at Stronger Personal Training. And it's all about your culture, all about the lights and the music and the energy and the community. And I just want you to talk about the genesis of that, where that comes from your mind, how you saw your system, not necessarily from the training aspect, because we all know we're all three owners, but the culture and the community that you built and how that came about and where that comes from.
Trey, that's a great question. It's one I think that is often overlooked in our industry because most gym owners were at one time trainers. We're kind of birthed into this training industry where, number one, either we just love training, we love fitness, or we love people, or a combination of the both. So when it comes to the actual culture building, we were kind of always kind of good at it. But now that we have to not just create it, but differentiate ourselves is really where I think it's a stone that's unlifted. No one's really looking under how to differentiate and where to even look for inspiration. So in terms of the look and feel of my club, the culture, number one, I've always been an artist. I've always been an artist. If you have been in my club over the years, you'll notice there's paintings all over the walls that when I get bored, I just paint. So I've always kind of been an artist. I've had a feel for art. I have a decent eye for what I believe looks good. So saying that, I was the kid in elementary school and high school who was never paying attention. I was in the back of the class, either drawing or painting. And sometimes I would just skip class altogether and go in the art room and just paint or draw. So I am at my heart an artist. And through that, being into fitness and training, my clubs have almost become a canvas for me to express myself. And luckily enough, people like it. I mean, it would suck if I had some weird abstract art that everyone hated. People tend to like it. So it kind of worked out. But I would say that when the light switch kind of flickered on and off for me and then stayed on really bright was I was always trying to improve my training business. And I mean, you could probably only get so good at the X's and O's of the fitness delivering, the program design, because most of our members, let's be honest, they don't give a crap. They don't give a, I mean, they have no point of reference. As far as they're concerned, Trey, you're the best coach that ever lived. Corey, you're the best coach that was ever born. They don't know any better. They like you. They trust you. That's awesome. So I was thinking, how can we attract more of these people, which become lifetime members? Well, clearly they're on their phones. Corey, you and I just talked about that. And as they're scrolling, how can I get them to stop? So let's create an aesthetic and an experience beyond just the four walls of our club where I can at least get them to stop, remember me when they think of fitness. But what I started to do was, again, let me backtrack a little bit, is I had one of my friends recently who's a fellow business owner in my town. And he asked me, he goes, hey, where do you get your inspiration for whether it's marketing or designing your club? What do you do? Where do you find inspiration? Who do you look to in your industry? And I said, honestly, I don't. I look outside of my industry. And what I found is, and again, this sounds kind of cliche, it isn't about the workout. The workout's a part of the whole total experience. And the experience from your member standpoint starts before they even enter your club. So I started looking at high-end hotels, high-end restaurants that offer experiences. And they sell experiences. Like there are some amazing restaurants down in Miami where they'll tell you it's a dinner experience. So I frequent these places and I go there as market research. And I literally go there and I just go by how I feel, and I know what they're doing to me, and I experience everything from the moment I drive up to the moment I walk in, to the doorman, how they're dressed, to the music coming out onto the street, to when I walk in, the scent, the layout, the aesthetic, how polite people are, the whole experience. And ultimately, looking outside the industry into these type industries, I think has helped us out tremendously. Everything from because when we buy, we don't just buy, with our pocketbook. People forget that you buy with your senses, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, and what you feel. So if we can deliver some sort of experience where we can tap into all of those senses through each session, you're going to be very successful. And what I always hope for is this: when someone leaves my club, let's just say that they think it's financially too expensive for whatever reason, I would love for them to go somewhere else and just feel like something is off. So whether you're at your club and you have speakers in the lobby, you have speakers in the parking lot, when they walk up, you have some sort of high-end hotel lobby diffuser where when they walk in, it smells high-end and nice, whether you're providing them samples, whether it's shake samples, bar samples on the way out so we could stimulate their taste buds, all of these things matter. The music is appropriate. You don't have some one speaker with your iPod set up. It's a real legit sound system. It smells and tastes like money. And that's what we're going for. So to answer your question, the short version is I normally look outside our industry and I frequent and I do market research on these type experiences.
And I think if anybody is listening to this and isn't going to some of these places, they can look at your gym for some inspiration because they're learning essentially exponentially from you. But you nailed it. There has to be this experience. And when we work with, coaches, I see them get a lot of times caught up in the X's and O's and this style of kettlebell versus that, training style, or, the sandbag is better than the barbell. And it's like, the members don't care. I heard one time, I don't know who said it, but the members join for the results and they stay for the community. You got to have that community. You got to have some sort of
have the community,
and Mark Liebert used the phrase entertainment. So we have to have the entertainment while we're changing these lives as well, because if you get just into one modality, it's only, personal training or it's only semi-private, you miss the whole picture. And that
it's funny
is,
you mentioned that, Corey, about the fit. Did you say exertainment?
Entertainment.
Entertainment. I would argue that it is more entertainment than it is actual fitness, because the hardest thing about what we do is we're selling a bunch of people hate. Right. If they loved it, they'd be doing it already. So they really don't want to exercise. But if we can take our magic wand and cover it with this ambiance of whether it's great lighting, great music, great scents, great samples of food, awesome high fives, they're going to stay forever. And if I had a penny for every time someone asked me, hey, Frank, listen, do you guys offer like social memberships where I can come and just hang out in your lobby, get a shake and I'm like, we got to work out, dude. I mean, we're here for a reason. As much as I want your money, we got to get the work. So that's the hardest part, I think, for most younger coaches to grasp, is that you have all these amazing fitness tools in your arsenal, for periodization and how to deal with the older population, training youth kids. You have all this knowledge. It's hard to finally grasp that nobody gives a shit. Mrs. Johnson doesn't care. She trusts you. Just make her happy.
Allow her have fun doing it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And another thing I would add is when it comes to not just club design, but building a culture, a lot of the design and the cleanliness of your club does have a lot to do with retention. I mean, I've always said that because I've been in, like you, Corey, I've been in zillions of clubs. Nothing is more disrespectful than having a dirty club, having a messy club, things that aren't organized, and a filthy club. It is the single most disrespectful thing ever. If I go to a restaurant and I look up in the corner and I see the paint kind of chipping, it feels off. And it does negatively affect my willingness to come back to that restaurant. It tells me that, how can I see that as a customer? And you own the joint. This is your house. How does it not keep you up at night? Because it would keep me up at night.
Yeah. All of my members, the things that they talk about the most are the community and the cleanliness. Those are the things and these are the people that have been with me for a long time. But those two things are talked about more. Nobody cares about sets and reps. Nobody cares about any of that stuff.
Yeah,
And they
Trey,
really don't.
when's the last time somebody told you, yo, Trey, that program design last week, that was sick. I mean, like the way you paired a pull and a push and a hip hinge, that was amazing. And I love those core stability exercises where it's anti-rotation, anti-flexion. It was sick because, I mean, normally people want to do all these crunches. That was a way better move. Great job, Trey. Care. So years ago, I mean, I'm always a trainer head. I thought it would be a great idea, like when we're delivering workouts, especially if it's in a group, that when we talk about an exercise, we tell them why. What a waste of time that was. Nobody cares. They're just looking like right through you. Nobody cares. It's like when someone asks you, hey, Trey, what's your certification? As you're telling them, they're like, oh, guys, butterfly over here, squirrel.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Crap.
No one asks.
You could say, hey, I'm certified in. You're like, what? Oh, yeah, I heard of that. It's really great.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody asks. They'll know in 3 minutes whether you know what you're talking about or not.
Exactly.
And other than that, it's the community and the culture. And that's why I led off with that question, because that's the one thing that when I think of your business, your community, your crew, that's the one thing I think of is the culture that you've built.
And staying on culture, guys, I think one of the biggest things is, as an owner, I'm really not a club owner. I'm really like a head coach. My goal is to get my team to win. And when I talk about my team, I'm talking about my staff. So everything I do is predicated on making sure that they are good and they are equipped to succeed. That includes not just being well paid, well compensated, taken care of, but I want them to be happy. So even the way I interact with them on a daily basis as their head coach is huge. Nobody wants to work for an a-hole. I think we all have people, and especially in our industry, you can't pay coaches zillions of dollars. So there has to be some other monetary value. If you're going to make it a lifestyle job, which is what most coaches are, you better make it the best damn place in the world to work, where they could never quit because they don't want to. They get to be a rock star for 8 hours a day, and it's no stress. Everything's figured out. They walk home with some decent money, and they get to wear, like you said, Trey, sweatpants to work. It is awesome. So when it comes to the culture, it does start with us as owners. It always starts at the top. We drive culture. I don't care how tight your systems are. As the owner, you're driving culture and you're driving those systems.
When you yes, cultures, you either foster it or somebody's going to foster it for you.
True.
So when you're dealing with your younger, a lot of times male trainers who have just been taught all the X's and O's and all the things that they need to do for the special populations and things like that, how do you work with your staff? And you've had some staff that have been there for ages, to get them to not just buy in. I think the buy-in is a little bit easier, but to actually facilitate that level of energy and culture throughout your gym on the daily basis.
That's a phenomenal question, Corey. Probably developing staff can be one of the most difficult things on the planet for those reasons. I would say that it all starts with our onboarding, which is normally through our internship programs, which last roughly a semester. And that gives us an opportunity to kind of weed out the ones that aren't hard workers, aren't team players. So the ones that stay and they learn all the X's and O's, what we're really doing is we're vetting them. We're making sure that they're a team player. It's interesting. In our internships, we spend very little time on the X's and O's. We spend more time on personal interaction and just being good young humans. I don't even really talk about the X's and O's. What we selfishly do is, I know Mike Boyles is literally 35 minutes from us. I just send them the CFCS. I'll let you guys do that, get certified, learn all those X's and O's, come back. But one of the lessons we teach and the analogies we use is, because most coaches who come through, they've all played sports at some point in their lives. Guys, you're just on a team, and this is the play we're running. Now, in our staff meetings, even the interns have full reign to participate and suggest exercises. But if they suggest an exercise, they have to tell us why. Then our director of fitness will politely explain whether we can fit that into the pot we're cooking with or not. The way we do things based on our culture and how we do it, we'll say, hey, Turkish get-ups are great, but based on the way we do things, it's going to be really hard. It's going to jam us up. I think, oh yeah, I totally get it. But it's a great exercise for XYZ. Can we find other ways we can get what we need from that exercise in other exercises so we don't get kind of jammed up? It'll be really hard to get 20 people doing Turkish get-ups at once the way we want it with the quality we want. So I believe everyone should have the autonomy to have a say in the direction the team's going. But at the end of the day, someone's got to pick the right X's and O's and deliver the right play. And that would be in terms of our program, our director of fitness. But very respectfully, we want them to challenge. We want them to say, hey, I was just at Perform Better. And Corey was doing this hands-on, and there was this exercise where you jump up and do a 360 and slam a medicine ball. That's great. Let's do it. That's fun. Let's add it in. Or we might say, based on our population, which is normally, women 45 and up, they're probably not going to want to love that. We can try it, but don't be hurt if they try it and we modify it real quick and kick it out of our pot. So that's how we get the autonomy of the buy-in, is they all have a say. Doesn't mean we're going to do it. I'm sure that, when Randy Moss was on the Patriots, he told Bill Belichick, hey, I want to run these plays. And Bill Belichick said, oh, that's a great idea. Or he'd say, hey, sorry, Randy, this is the way we're doing things. You're running slants all day against the Chiefs. That's what we're doing. And at the end of the day, we're here to win. If you have personal feelings as a coach and you want to do things a certain way, that's great. You should probably work for yourself and not be a part of a team.
And for the young trainer, that's how they learn. That's how you refine those X's and O's. That's how they learn the system, and it only makes them better. And whenever I bring in someone, and whether it's an intern, especially an intern, I said, I don't care about the X's and O's. I said, and I've got an intern now, and I told her, this was 2 months before she ever started here. I said, all I want you to do is I want you to show your personality, and I want you to go talk to the people. Because if you understand the people, then that's going to help refine your processes. That's going to help refine how you do things. But ultimately, this is a people business, not a squat business or not a deadlift business. All that is just stuff. And whenever new people come in, especially people who are apprehensive, I say, this is just a bunch of stuff. We got 1,000 different ways to get to where we want to be, but we're going to do it with love and trust and family and community. And we're going to joke and we're going to have fun and we're going to pick on each other. And ultimately that's what matters is the community, and what we do while we're here. That's going to change on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And it's not irrelevant, because how we do things is important, but while we're here and the connections that we build, those are the things that really matter.
Trey, I love social media because it gives us full access into all these young business owners and coaches. And I'd say quite a few of them would say, as owners, we're in the results delivering business. And I'm like, well, you're going to be out of business, because if we were running our business solely on delivering results, would all fail. What we do isn't rocket science, the X's and O's. Okay, Mrs. Johnson, you're going to lift some heavy often, and you're going to eat a little better, drink water, and you're going to do that every once in a while. You'll look better. You'll feel better. I promise you. That ain't rocket science. But I can't walk around with Mrs. Johnson all day, every day, the other 23 hours, and slap donuts out of her hand. It's not going to happen. So they get it. I get it. Let's have some fun. One of my favorite quotes ever was when I was a young trainer. I was training this guy, Mr. Sullivan, and I remember, because at that age, everyone was Mr. and Mrs. Now they're calling me Mr. and Mrs. I'm a little longer in the tooth. But I was like a hardcore coach. Like, I wanted everyone to hit their fitness goals more than they did, to the point where I would argue I was annoying. So Mr. Sullivan comes in. It's on a Wednesday. I'm like, hey, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Sullivan, do you have your food log? He's like, I don't have it. I forgot to do it. I'm like, okay, well, get on it. It's very important. And this is when you had to actually write it down. There were no apps. Comes back Friday. I'm like, Mr. Sullivan, want to see your food log? He goes, Frank, I need to talk to you for a second. He goes, listen, dude, I love your gym. I come 3 days a week. I work out. I feel amazing. My wife and I, we work 9 to 5. When I get out of work, usually what we do is we go out to eat. I probably eat out 3 or 4 times a week. That is our time to connect. I'm not ready to give that up yet. But Frank, I do know that when I am ready, if I give that up and make better decisions, that I'm going to lose a lot of weight. But right now, I'm very happy with just working out with you. I get it. I was like, that is amazing. A cornerstone of this guy's relationship revolves around eating out 3 or 4 times a week. Why would I take that away from him?
Right.
He's happy you're here. Like, you can eat out every night. Just please keep coming and being happy. I mean, I would rather someone strength train with me and eat like a complete jerk every single day than quit because I'm being some sort of annoying little. So it is interesting that we are not in the result driven business. We are in the entertainment business. The third place, they got home, they got work, they got us. I would rather them choose us over pickleball, golf, bowling league. I would rather them choose us over Netflix. That's a tough one. But yeah, man.
Yeah, that's great. We have them for 2, maybe 3 hours a week, and we're like, oh, we're going to get everybody results. The reality behind that is there's a lot that needs to happen out of our control. So while they are with us, we need to make sure that they just keep coming back, and they got to love being here in order for that to happen.
Right. I mean, it is the best place for them to be. I would argue out of their 3 places. I mean, I would rather them be here than home. I would rather them be here than at work. At least here, they're getting good vibes. They're getting healthy high fives. They're getting healthy movement. This might be the only 45 minutes or an hour where they drink water. So it's actually a really cool place, and it benefits them.
We need to be the best 2 or 3 hours out of their week.
Gotta be. And you always have to be on. Corey, in my presentation, I don't know if you remember, I was talking about it. Literally, no matter how long you've had a member or a client, it is the first date every session. You have to wow them. You have to be into them. You have to butter them up. You can't get stagnant. You have to be we're dating. When this isn't a relationship, we're dating, and I'm always trying to earn your trust. Even if you've been here for years, I have to remind myself, it's not good enough. I got to keep going. And that's where a lot of coaches fall asleep. Is you got someone that's been with you for 10 years. They're no longer, a client or a member. They're your buddy, and they should be. I mean, if I see some members 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes 4 or 5, man, that's more than I see my family sometimes. So these people do become like a part of your family. But you always have to remember, no matter how often you try to convince yourself, that client's never going to leave. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they will. They're going to wake up. They're going to wake up one morning and they're going to say, hey, I love Corey. I love Trey. But $300-$400 a month is a lot. And honestly, like, it's not like it was. Like, when I tell him I don't feel like doing push-ups, he doesn't really push me. If I say the weight's good enough, if I tell him I don't want to sweat because I don't want to mess up my hair, he's cool with it. I really need to change things up. They start thinking like that. So you're dating that person for the first date, every session, every time. If you treat it like that, you'll never lose a member. Well, you will, but not as much. Right. There is death. There is moving. There is
not divorce. From a lack of effort.
Yeah, right. Not from lack of effort. But you'll definitely increase your chances.
But that all plays into the community and the culture that you build. If that's in your culture, to always be on and always be looking after your people, always looking to try to do the best job you can for them, then that will permeate and they won't leave.
I've always said that a good sign of a great trainer is if a client says to you this, Trey, Corey, are you always this happy? Are you always in a good mood? That is the sign of a rock star coach and trainer or business owner. Not how jacked you are, not how many selfies you took and post on Instagram, none of that crap. If a member says to you, are you always this happy? It's kind of weird. Yeah, of course I am. I love being here. I get to hang out with my friends. In reality, you're like, yeah, I gotta fucking do this. Yeah. Like, no, I'm not happy. I just got pulled over on the way here. Right. I'm not having a great day, but that's not your business. Let's go.
Yeah, we and so much of it. And it's funny that you kind of touch on some of these things. Like here, we're the boss, and as the boss, we are the culture setter. As the boss, we are the community driver. As the boss, we have to be on, and because it's yours and mine and Corey's, it's easy to be on because it's yours. It's your heart and soul and your belief system. It permeates every nook and cranny of the place. And so you're always on, and it's easy to be on. Sometimes you don't necessarily feel like, and you have to go back into your office and then strap it back on and get back out there. But that's the role that we play. And, in the summers, we have a collegiate summer league baseball team, kind of like the Cape up in the Northeast. And the manager of our team is Mickey Tettleton. And Mickey was, 15 years in the bigs with the Orioles and the Tigers. And so my son Charlie's the bat boy. And, if every now and again, if he needs to take a rest or go to the bathroom or do whatever, I'll jump in and I'll go grab a bat or I'll grab a ball. And Mickey looked over at me the other day and he said, "Aren't you a little old for that?" And I said, "Well, yeah, Mick, probably so, but that's the job that needs to be done. And you can't be above any job that needs to be done in any situation that you're in, whether you're in your own facility where you're the boss, or you just need to be there for somebody else and doing something." And it all boils down to really service. And we're here to serve our people. And yes, it is a business, but this is not only our livelihood, but it is our lifeblood.
That's a great point, right? And that's, I would say, how you get staff to really buy in, especially these days, especially the younger staff, is that you got to lead by example. You got to lead from the front. You got to lead with kindness. You got to lead with humor. This 1965, hardcore football coach mentality, which maybe, I've experienced, or you experienced, where you yell at someone and they'll do the job because they don't, out of fear. Those days are over. Nobody wants to work for a jerk. Nobody wants to work for an a-hole. But if they feel like they're a part of something, and if they feel like, hey, I was just in the bathroom and when I walked in, it was immaculate. When Corey left, wow, that he's really setting the stage. This is what we do here. Yeah, we have systems, but we have to show them that we'll jump in and do everything. Like, I'll give you an example. I mean, at my club, I'll walk around with a rag. I'll wash things when the clubs are busy, just so they see it. But also, if I see something dirty, how stupid would it be for me to go to the front desk and grab a front desk person and say, "Hey, can you wipe that down? How about this? Hey, Susie, come here. I want to show you something. See how these get kind of dusty?" And I do it and show her how to do it and go, "Hey, next time, like once a day, I'm going to put it within our schedule. I'm going to have you do that." I'll do it too. I don't mind. I'll pick up trash outside. Occasionally we have people walk by. I'll run out there. I'll pick it up. It's fine. But you have to lead by example. Nothing can be beneath you, because at the end of the day, if someone doesn't show up, you can jump in and it's flawless.
Yeah. I tell, I've got younger people that work with me, and I tell them all, I will never ask you to do something that I won't do or don't do. Because, if it's your turn to clean the bathrooms, chances are I cleaned them last time. It's just, it is, but that's the culture. And I tell Luke is my right-hand man. Luke's been with me, he trained with me when he was a kid, and then he's been working with me for the last 3.5 years. And we joke all the time. I said, "Man, if you can't work here, you can't work anywhere." I said, "Where else can you go tell your boss to go to hell?" And he just laughs at you. Where else can you put on your finest gym clothes and drink coffee and hang out with your friends all day? Like, this is a pretty good life. It's not always perfect, but it's pretty doggone good.
It's funny how you mentioned how us, Corey, Trey, myself, we set the tone for culture. I would say this is over 10 years ago. And I mentioned this in my lecture, that I went to the in-person Ritz-Carlton University, and the place is so immaculate and everyone is so on point through they have a great culture, that on the last day, I was using the restroom, and it was me and somebody else in the course. And again, they host these at an actual Ritz-Carlton. So you're at a Ritz-Carlton and you're at the conference room, and you break for a second. You may use the bathroom, and you come out and you wash your hands and you look around, and they do such an amazing job with culture that even you, as an attendee of this university, start cleaning the sink. I found myself cleaning I'm like, God, and I know that you did it to me. You got me. Because they set the bar so high. You walk in, it is spotless, it's flawless. And I was like, that's how you do it.
Yeah. I want to shift real quick, Frank, because I know this is a question that Trey has had, and when we were talking about bringing you on, he was like, "Oh yeah, there's some great questions." You started out, and you went through a rebrand. I just went through a rebrand earlier this year. So
we've been through many rebrands.
Yeah. So how did you decide, and what was the catalyst from going from, Frank Nash training to stronger personal training?
That's a great question. So before Frank Nash Training Systems, we were actually a club called Platinum Performance. And the reason I picked Platinum Performance was I used to work at a Gold's Gym. On my exit, Corey, there was some turmoil between us, and I'm going to show them, you guys, you think you're Gold's Gym? I'm going to be Platinum Performance, because Platinum is better than Gold. Nobody gave a shit. So it was Platinum Performance. And then what happened was I was a typical young, new gym owner who didn't understand business. I was working 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. I trained everybody. So nobody even called it Platinum Performance. They called it let's go to Frank's. Let's go to Frank Nash's. So I'm like, let's just roll with that and call it, Frank Nash Training Systems. Also, too, at that time, like we were the only club doing this, what we're doing now, which a lot of clubs do. And there was some ego involved. I was like, oh yeah, I get to put my name on the building. It's cool. So as I started to mature, I'm like, this club, this community, that culture we created, it's really not about me. I want to transition this to make a community where it's more about us. And from a business standpoint, it's much easier down the line if I wanted to sell a stronger personal training than it would be a Frank Nash Training Systems. It was just some foresight where I was thinking, okay, down the line, okay, again, if I'm like 65 and I just want out, if I want to sell a Frank Nash Training Systems, that means they probably want me to stay anywhere between 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't want to do that. So, and also one of my friends who's a lawyer mentioned, he's like, hey, dude, just so you know, if you and Corey and Trey are out and you have dinner and maybe you have a drink, you get pulled over and cops being a prick and you get dinged for DUI, your name may be in the paper. Now people associate your gym with a drunk. Just saying, it's not going to happen, Frank, but you don't want that to happen. So it's not the worst idea in the world to transition into stronger. So those are the real reasons behind it. Number one, I wanted to get my name off the business. Number two, I wanted to create something that was bigger than me. So it wasn't always about me, more about us, meaning my team, myself, whoever my team members are at the time.
Great. Yeah, I know a lot of people follow the same thing, and you have Mark Fisher Fitness, Frank Nash Training, Trey Belcher Training. Like that's the natural inclination. Mike Boyle, right? It's just the natural inclination is to I'm gonna put my name on it. I'm the trainer,
right?
So and now it's more, remember Tom Plummer? Don't ever put your name on your business. But transitioning in, it's a leap. It's a leap of faith that you have to take because you spent years building that brand,
right?
And now to transition it, one, it's costly. Two,
very costly.
Me, I kept going through. It's like, oh, that's got to change too. Shoot, add that to the bottom line.
Well, I don't know about that, but now I can go ahead and start my rebrand now that I've been put into a sentence with Mark Fisher Fitness and Frank Nash Training Systems and Mike Boyle Strength Conditioning. Now that I've created this podcast just so I could get that line in there. All right, now we can go ahead and start the rebrand and figure out what's next.
The other thing too that I wanted to ask Frank is as and I'll admit I was there also. The amount that you do, right? So you have Stronger. You're associated with .fit. You were are a presenter on Perform Better Circuit. You were with the presenter for the NFBA for many of years. That's a lot. A gym owner, now a multi-gym owner, that is a lot to do. So if a younger coach is looking, she's like, man, I would love to be able to do all those things that Frank Nash does. None of the extra stuff works unless you have a good foundation business, right?
That's it. Corey, you are 100% right. Any of the presenters you see, they have a good foundation of something else going on. Just so if you're a young coach and you're watching this, most presenters, it's very hard to make a living off presenting. Not many people can financially make that work, and it's not very doable unless you're on the road all the time. And if you are one of the few people who have a black belt in speaking and you are getting booked to speak all over the world, you have no social life. Your family life probably blows as well too. So there is a price to pay for all that speaking. Number one, financially, if you're doing it every once in a while, it's not going to build anything for you. But I would say that you have to, if you just want to speak for your autonomy and you want to speak, maybe you have a book to sell, maybe you have a supplement to sell, whatever that is, that's great. But the foundation has to be your other business, whether that's your club or your training business, whatever that is, your online business, whatever that is, make sure that's rock solid. I would not get into speaking if you don't have that foundation yet. I wouldn't do it. It's going to take attention and energy away from the baby, which is the business, which needs all that attention. Now, as it grows, like mine did, like Corey's did, to the point where you can step away for a week, that's a great thing. I mean, you probably can't step away for a year, but a week is a good enough time for it to survive on its own. And then you could do ancillary things. But the magic is in the base. The magic is in the base.
Yeah. And I've preached that. I know you preach that, but to hear, I used to sit there in awe of like is Frank ever home? Because you do so much. But I know you have known you for years and years and years. I also know that you are one of the better gym owner and operators, that those systems, the KPIs, everything are being met. The staff is there. They're trained to, to the T, so that when you are gone, the business doesn't go backwards. Matter of fact, a lot of times when we go, you come back and go, well, hell, why doesn't that happen when I'm here?
I guess you guys don't need me.
Right.
But to that point, Corey, it is super important, if you are building a gym business, that you have legit, professional, responsible adults that work there. You don't want people who have drinking problems, drug problems. You don't want people who have problems coming in late. You want professional adults. This is a real job. So saying that, yeah, we show up in sweatpants and we throw high fives and we're cranking cool music, all that stuff, but you got to pay these people a real salary too. So if you are running a club, if you are watching a speaker like myself at Perform Better, you may think, well, is Frank ever home? Well, I have professional adults who work for me, who run the club when I'm not around, and they're good and they get compensated very well. So there is a price to pay. I'm not up there speaking for free. There's a lot of financial obligations that go into having these adult people. But when you are building a team, you are going to need those A players, and your goal is to keep them as long as possible. You don't want a rotating schedule. I think, Trey, you and I talked about this before we went live. You don't want a rotating roster of managers, coaches, even like front desk people. You don't want that rotation. You want the same roster all the time. I want the 96 Bulls. I want that roster all the time. You got Jordan and Pippen, your A players. Everyone else, you could be a nice, solid, fun B player.
But you know who those people are, even now, even almost 30 years later, you know who those guys are and were. But that goes back to the culture. That's all the culture. It's continuity for the business. It's continuity in the staff. It's continuity for the people. You add new people, they quickly become ingrained in it. And it all boils down to culture and community. And I think that's the alpha and the omega for this whole conversation and for our businesses. And I guess that wraps it up as tight as we can. And I know you got to get out of here, and I don't want to hold you up any longer. You've been so gracious for coming on and sharing your time with us and all your thoughts and insights. And man, it's been an awesome conversation, and I can't thank you enough for doing it.
Yeah. Before I go, guys, I jump off. I'm going to leave your audience with one thing. If you happen to be a club owner or you're thinking about owning a gym, when it comes to your staff, you can teach anybody to show your members how to do lunges and squats and push-ups. That's easy. You can't teach someone not to be an a-hole. So always look for great, fun people. I think Bill Parisi said this best. He goes, when you're looking for staff, you want people who are in fitness and who are into fitness. So I'll leave you with that.
Amen.
Amen. All right, guys, that was fun. Thanks. I'm going to jump off, but this is a great one.
Yeah. Frank, we appreciate it. Follow Frank Nash on Instagram. By Frank Nash. Thanks again, Frank, for joining us. We appreciate you. And ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us on the Coaches Unscripted podcast. We hope today's stories have inspired and empowered you. Please connect with us on Instagram at Coaches Unscripted podcast. Give us a like, follow, comment, and share to continue the conversation and stay updated on future episodes. Thanks again to Frank Nash. For Frank Nash, Corey Smallwood, I'm Trey Belcher. Keep coaching from the heart and building strong communities.